seen well over 200 queens sashay away on RuPaul's Drag Race and all of its various franchises throughout the world. And a lot of these eliminations can kind of just meld together, right? There's queens who went home early and we barely get to know. There's queens who kind of overstayed their welcome and we're just like ready for them to go home. And then you have the queens that make it to the end. And when they go home in the finale or they don't win the crown, it's kind of like, well, you got to the end. Congratulations. But there is a small, I would say very small group of queens who go home and the elimination kind of sits with you for a while. Whether it's because you're happy that they go, whether it's because they went out in some shocking manner like a Ben de la Creme, whether you absolutely hated them and you have been waiting, pining, seething for the moment for this queen to go home. Finally, to get off your damn television screen. And then there are the very, very few, the saddest eliminations in Drag Race herstory. The ones that leave you awake at night, thinking of what could have been. Maybe if they were high this week, or maybe if they were in a different team, or maybe if they had a different lip sync song, maybe they could have made it to the end. In the multiverse of madness, there is a dimension where Denali is the winner of season 13. I promise you that, but not in this one. Today, we are going to look at some of the most heart-wrenching, heartbreaking, soap opera, dramatic eliminations in all of Drag Race. The ones that to this day still tug at your heartstrings and still give you an entire new season of what-if scenarios that you could pitch to Marvel for the Drag Race cinematic universe. You know, for this, I had to go and rewatch a ton of seasons, so I'm very happy that I had today's sponsor, Atlas VPN, to help me find them all. The most annoying thing to me as a content creator is when I'm trying to make a video on a Drag Race season and it's not available on any of the streaming services here in the US. But that is what is so great about today's video sponsor, Atlas VPN. Atlas VPN makes the internet more accessible and secure for its more than 6 million users worldwide. Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Disney Plus all have geo-restrictions due to licensing rights. This means that hundreds of exclusive shows may not be available to you based on your location. But with Atlas VPN, you can bypass geo-restrictions and access your favorite content from across the world. For me, I can watch any season of RuPaul's Drag Race or any of my other favorite TV shows just by changing my location in Atlas VPN, which makes creating content so much easier. Right now, Atlas VPN is running a huge discount. You can get a 3-year subscription for only $1.99 with a 30-day money-back guarantee. The link to get that discount is in the description of this video below, as well as the pinned comment. So thank you so much, Atlas VPN, for sponsoring today's video. It's very easy to think of the first sad elimination because it's one of the saddest to this day. It's the one that resonates with people. When you think of what is one of the saddest eliminations, you are going to think of Pangina. Now, season 1 was a very different show. It was obviously low budget. It was a brand new concept, and it had not gotten to the heights of production that it has reached now, where they're getting Emmys, they have story producers, they have all these things that help them tell a wonderful, beautiful narrative and give you a satisfying conclusion. Season 1 didn't really have much of that. I would say it's the rawest of seasons. We get to see the queens really as they are and not how the producers want you to see them. And in this raw season, you have Pangina, this very sweet, very nice, very kind, and very different queen from everyone else in the room, where you have the Akashas and the BBs and the Rebeccas and the Jades, who are all being kind of catty in moments and taking digs at one another, being shady, being fun for television. All in the middle of this, you have Pangina. For the first 5 episodes is the heart and soul of the season. She's slaying the challenges. She's doing things on the runway that nobody else is doing. And she's doing it all with this adorable smile on her face. And she's just happy to be there. And she's happy to be doing so well in the competition. She's the first queen to get 2 challenge wins. And as we're reaching the end of the season, it kind of feels like this is Angina's to take. She's doing things that are completely different. She's doing things that are unexpected, and she's taking risks. And all of that comes crashing down in episode 5, the Makeover Challenge, where she is then put in the bottom 2 with the other front runner, Bibi Zahara Benet. And they lip sync to Stronger by Britney Spears in what is probably the first really intense lip sync battle, where RuPaul literally has to get up and walk away and talk to producers, presumably, about who is going to go home. If the idea of a double Shantae existed here, they probably would have been the first double Shantae, but instead, Angina is sent packing. And this really hurts to watch because she has shared her heart with us. We know how much the competition means to her. We know how much she's putting into her run on the show. She just the previous week had a very, very sweet and intimate moment where she talks about her HIV status. And this was a monumental moment for television, even queer television, in 2009. I mean, even today in 2022, we are still dealing with the stigma of HIV. People on Grindr still have clean only in their bios. For Angina to make such a statement and really put herself out there all the way back in 2009, I think immediately created a bond with her and the viewers, where that bond wasn't necessarily there with, Rebecca Glasscock or Bibi Zahara Benet. Watching Angina on season 1 really is, I think, one of the main factors which led to the show coming back for a second season. Because obviously it didn't get a ton of views, it didn't have a great production value, obviously they didn't put a ton of money into it. And moments like Angina coming out as HIV positive, the Stronger lip sync, those are the moments that I think really got people hooked onto the show. So losing Angina is almost like the show losing its innocence a little bit, because season 2 is a lot more of the cattiness. It's a lot more of the queens all bickering, and it's honestly very real, right? Because if you put a bunch of drag queens in a room together, not everybody is going to get along right off the bat. And season 2 definitely showed this. But there was one queen who really didn't get involved in all of the cattiness and who audiences immediately attached themselves to, and that was Pandora Boxx. She had the storyline of always being the bridesmaid, never the bride. She did so well throughout the season, but did not get a single challenge win. And I think that audiences could really relate to her because she was funny, she was charismatic, she was staying out of all the drama, she just wanted to be there and do well in the competition. And it seemed like she could never just hit that home run. There was always something holding her back from getting a win under her belt. And unfortunately, she goes home without ever getting a challenge win. And I think audiences really could relate to her because so many of us in our lives are vying for something that we really, really want. And no matter how hard we try, we just can't get there. So I think Pandora was a really great audience viewpoint character where she's just kind of telling you what's going on. She's a narrator. She's not getting involved, but she is going to spill tea about it in the confessional. And losing Pandora, I think, was a big wake-up call to audiences because you could have everything. You could be funny. You could be charismatic. You could be doing well in the challenges, but that doesn't mean that you are going to succeed in the competition. Pandora Boxx could be in the top every single week, but she still didn't even make top 4, and she never won a challenge. And because of that, audiences instead voted her to be Miss Congeniality, which I do think makes sense looking at the narrative of the season. But watching her go home next to one of her best friends, Jujubee, was definitely another very sad moment in Drag Race herstory. Season 3, I would say the saddest elimination for sure is Yara Sofia. Watching Yara's progression throughout the franchise is really strange because her elimination on season 3 was so emotional. It was heart-wrenching. They made a big moment out of it. And, then she comes back for All Star 6 just last year, and she's kind of like the villain who the queens don't like. They get rid of her one of the first chances that they get, and it's kind of just like a hand wave. We move on. And just looking at both of these eliminations side to side, it's very interesting to see how the one queen can be perceived on separate seasons, because on season 3, Yara was the lovable weirdo. She was doing things that nobody else had done on this runway before, with her wacky hair creations, her very revealing runways, and she was just there being zany, having fun, and actually doing super well in the competition as well. She forges a very close friendship with fellow competitor Alexis Mateo, and they're kind of the antithesis of Raja and Manila, right? You have the main storyline of the season being the Heathers versus the Boogers. And Yara and Alexis are the two main boogers. Manila and Raja are the two Heathers. So it makes sense that they are the final 4. And to put Alexis and Yara Sofia against each other in the bottom, it kind of turns into the original Dancing on My Own lip sync between Raven and Jujubee, where Yara just can't do it. She's spent, she's done, she doesn't have another lip sync in her, she doesn't want to send her friend home, and she gives up. She starts crying on the stage. It's very emotional, and because we see her as this hero, maybe a little out there, but good-intentioned queen, it's just really sad to see her give up in this final moment. She kind of goes home unceremoniously. I mean, Alexis finishes out the lip sync, and it's kind of obvious what's going to happen. And it's really sad. It's so sad. And it's hard to know if she had gotten to that finale, if she had had a chance at the crown, but it would have been nice to at least see her try. Now, season 4, we're going to talk about a queen that, just like Yara, kind of came back and her reputation changed a lot. And that is Latrice Royale. We just talked about All Stars 4 and kind of the treatment of Latrice in the Riggery of All Stars 4 video. I'll put it up in the corner. But Latrice on season 4, I think, reached new heights of fandom love. I think season 4 in general, you had She Who Must Not Be Named and Latrice, who were propped up by the fandom in ways that no queen before had. I mean, the love that the fandom had for these two was insane. They became instant superstars. And the opposite happens with Fifi, where we had never seen a queen get so much hate and be so despised by the fandom. So you have Latrice, who has been doing really well throughout the season. Even the moments where she falls in the bottom, she makes the most out of it by giving us some of the greatest lip syncs of all time to this day. And then at the final 4, she gets eliminated by Chad Michaels. And I think to, again, be so close, just like Yara was, just like Pandora Boxx was, so close to the finals, and then get their light dimmed at the last moment is so sad to watch, because you know how much it meant to her. You know how much she'd fought to be there and how much the competition meant to her. She then gives one of the most heartfelt speeches of all time on Drag Race, and you can just really tell that RuPaul loves her, Michelle loves her, the queens love her, and then the world fully fell in love with her. Watching Latrice not make the finale on season 4, I think, was, at this point, the saddest elimination in all of Drag Race herstory. And then we kind of don't have that same arc again. The lovable queen who makes it so close to the end, but gets their torch snuffed right before the finale. Season 5, none of the eliminations feel sad. They all feel pretty justified. Same with season 6. I mean, the fans were upset and heartbroken when Ben de la Creme went home, but the way they edit her elimination isn't like, a tearjerker moment. I would say the next really sad elimination comes in season 8, right before the finale, yet again, with another narrator queen that is kind of a lovable, fun queen that the audience can relate to, and that is the late, great Chi DeVayne. Now, I remember watching season 8. It was my very first season I had ever watched. And the moment that Chi Chi went home, I was really honestly shocked. I thought she was going to make the finals and it was going to be a shoo-in. I was like, oh, Chi Chi for sure is moving on to that top 3. And when she doesn't, I was shocked. I was really, really surprised. And I felt so bad about it. And I felt like guilty, like, oh my gosh, she didn't make it. This is terrible, because I think it meant so much. I don't want to say more to her. I think it meant something different to her than if Kimchi made it, or if Naomi made it, or if Bob made it. Chi Chi really felt like that queen who built herself from the ground up. She didn't have all the materials and the glitz and the glam that everyone else had. And she, I think, really was fighting to just keep up at certain points in the competition when it came to the looks and having the nicest drag and having the most expensive drag. And really, when she could just sit there and be funny and be who she was, that is when she shined. So I really thought that her story would end with her proving you didn't need all the money and all of the glitz and all of the glam to make it to the finale of RuPaul's Drag Race. And her getting cut at the last moment really stung, because I do think it meant something different. And I think in hindsight, looking at All Stars 3, where she came back, where I was so excited to see what she could do, and for her to just not be in the right mindset of it, I think it makes her elimination sting even more now, because I do think she had so much more to show. And I think if she was in that finale, she could have torn it up. I would have loved to see a finale with Chi DeVayne in it. I do think we're left with a very, very heartbreaking elimination from her. And that's not always a bad thing, because I think sometimes going home but having the fandom on your side is going to do more wonders for your career than people thinking you went too far. You shouldn't have made the finale. Someone else deserved that spot. So I think for a lot of these queens on here, their careers have really flourished because of their elimination. I mean, Angina. People begged Angina to be on All Stars every single year. Pandora Boxx has come back twice. Yara Sofia has come back twice. Latrice Royale has come back twice. Like, all of these queens are so beloved, and I'm not sure that it would be as intense if they had just made the finale and won, or made the finale and lost. I do think when a queen goes home in a really, really sad way, someone you're rooting for, someone you want to make it so much, and then they lose in the final stretch, it kind of creates a bond with that queen that is different than if they had made it to the finale. Next, I want to talk about a different kind of sad elimination. And it's sad because this queen had everything it took to win. She proved it every single episode. The looks, she had the personality, she had the humor, she had the ingenuity, she had a different perspective, and it all came crashing down in one single moment. And you know we are talking about Valentina, another queen that the fandom, I think, has completely embraced as one of its biggest superstars. Valentina, to the ire of the other queens on her season, was really, really doing well. Even the weeks where she was just safe, she was still giving solid performances. Even the roast, where her jokes made no sense, she's so charismatic. She just has that it factor that you can't help but be entertained. She said she wanted to shove Ross Matthews up her ass like a gerbil, and I thought that was the funniest thing I'd heard in years. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, queen, iconic comedy legend. Bianca Del Rio could never. Like, she just has that factor to her. And I think if she had made it to the end, it would have been very, very rough for anyone to try and beat her. All it took was her not knowing the lyrics to our national anthem, Greedy, by Ariana Grande. Not knowing those words, everything she had built up from the second she got there all came crashing down. And it was sad in a different way. It's sad because you care about her and you want her to do well. But I think it's a different kind of sad because we all expected her to make it to the finale. Everyone thought Valentina's got this in the bag. To watch it all come crashing down, it's like a car crash. You can't look away because you're just shocked. You're like, how could this happen? And obviously, she redeems herself on All Stars 4, but it was just a real moment of like, wow, just because a queen is doing well this whole time, it doesn't mean that anything is guaranteed. You cannot stop fighting. I think it was a big moment for the fandom. Then we have another couple seasons where I don't think there's any like big sad elimination. Season 10, everyone goes home in pretty much the order you would think. Cracker's elimination is sad, but she's kind of like beaten down on the way out, and it's not edited as this like heartbreaking sad thing. I think the fandom definitely saw it that way, but the show didn't portray it like that. Season 11, everyone hates each other. Nina West, I think, was the saddest one, but the next one I'm gonna put on this list for real is Rock'em Sakura, another really different case. So Rock'em is the second eliminated queen on the season, but because of the format, we got 3 whole episodes with her. And Rock'em makes amazing TV because she said, oh, you wanted storylines? Oh, you wanted backstories? Oh, you wanted heart-wrenching moments? I got you. I have everything in my arsenal. She made sure that every moment she was on that season, she was either telling a joke, being shady, or crying. And that is exactly how you get screen time on RuPaul's Drag Race. So we get a lot of Rock'em Sakura in these 3 episodes. We learn a lot about her backstory, her insecurities, and right off the bat, in episode 2, I guess, her episode 1, we sympathize with her because she gives an amazing performance on the main stage in You Don't Know Me, and it's very reminiscent of her, right? We kind of get to know her in this episode, and her performance feels authentic to her. Only then for her to get pretty much reamed by the judges saying farts aren't funny. Whatever, we all know that's bullshit now. But that kind of immediate dissonance is what really makes the audience care about a queen, because we see her as a fun, weird, campy queen. She gives that to the judges and they say, no, we don't like it. You suck. So immediately we're like, no. Rock'em is an icon. Why don't you see that? So for her to go home just 2 episodes later, I think really hits different because she has shown us who she is. She has stood out among the group so quickly, and then for her story to get cut short so soon is really heartbreaking. You know, she's someone who I think people really thought was going to go far, and to be kind of like embarrassingly sent home where she can't lip sync for the first half of the song because her outfit won't come off, and she's trying to get it off and it won't rip, and it's just kind of like a cringy moment. And then she's launching herself across the stage trying to make up for the fact that she couldn't do anything for the first half of the song, and she's trying so hard, and then she gets sent home. And we hear her sobs as she goes, and she's so visibly distraught and saddened to go home so early. And I think that was a very different story than a lot of the early outs we get in other seasons, where we don't really get to know them. I mean, how much did you really get to know about, like, Sasha Bell or Candy Ho or Mrs. Kasha Davis? Like, those queens, you don't really get to know a ton about their lives. You don't get attached to them super quick. They're kind of just, like, bowed out, right? They're kind of just like, here they are. Okay, now they're going home. Cool. Let's focus on the people that are going to make it far. But in this case, this is an early out queen who we get to know, we care about, then it's all kind of taken away from us super, super quickly. Season 13 and 14, I think, again, have certain sad eliminations, but none of them that I felt were sad enough to put on the list. Denali, obviously the fandom was up in arms, but it's not edited to be like a devastating loss. So I want to talk about a couple All-Stars ones, because All-Stars is very different, where you could be doing well and all of a sudden, like, it's over. We see this with Manila, but the one I really think stands out from those early All-Star seasons is Shangela. And I didn't include anyone else who was in the finales because, I mean, they made it to the finale, cool. Here, Shangela made it to the finale, and she gets her shot taken away from her from the jury. Not from Ru, not from, the public. it's from her fellow queens because she played the game that she was casted to play. And for Shangela, whose whole storyline has been like she's the working girl, right? She came on, she really didn't know a ton about drag, and she went home first. Then she comes back. She fights her way to the end of the season. She sticks up for the queens that are considered boogers, and she gets cut towards the end of the season. Now she is a superstar. She's selling out clubs. She's selling out shows. She's touring all over the world. She's really got it all together. And she is fighting on All Stars 3 from the second she gets there. She is winning challenges left and right. She's winning lip syncs left and right. She does everything it takes to get to the end, and then it's all taken away from her by a twist that she never could have prepared for. If they had known that the jury twist was going to be there at the end, I guarantee you Shangela would have played a much different game. They all would have played a much different game. And it's just sad to see Shangela have to face a twist she never could have known was going to happen. And the look on her face when she gets eliminated really is just so depressing, because most of the season the story has been about her path to the end, for her path to the crown, and it all just gets taken away in an instant. Obviously, Manila is really sad to see go home on All Stars 4, but I want to talk about 2 on All Stars 5. Now, All Stars 5, I just rewatched the season, and it's not good. It's one of my least favorite seasons, but 2 of the queens, I think, really, really get a sad departure, and that is Angina, again, and Alexis Mateo. Now, Angina, it's sad because she has been propped up so much as someone the fans want to see come back. She has said she wanted to come back. She had petitioned to come back. Like, she had wanted to come back so much. And then she comes back, and she can't do it. And she just can't live up to the hype. You know, she doesn't do well in the reading challenge. She doesn't do well in the talent show. She gets sick, and she doesn't sound super great in the girl group challenge, and she goes home. And she votes herself home because she knows she's not doing as well as everyone expected her to, and as she expected herself to. And to me, I think that's just really sad. And then you have Alexis Mateo, who goes home because of a lie told by India Farah, right? I think it's pretty much well known by now that India was lying when she said that Alexis was campaigning for Shea to go home. Obviously, Alexis voted for Shea, but she wasn't going around saying we all need to vote for Shea. But because India said that, Alexis loses the trust of her fellow competitors, and she gets sent home earlier than she should have. I mean, Alexis had done so well throughout the season, but because of the format change where there's not 2 winners every week, I think she really, really was at a detriment. If they had the 2 winners, she would have won at least 3 challenges. She would have won the talent show, she would have won the snatch game, she would have won the hotel challenge. Like, there's so many challenges that she could have been in the top 2 for, but instead she gets 0 wins, and everyone votes her out because they don't believe her. And it's so sad to see her, like, beg these people, like, listen, I'm telling you the truth. But at that point, India had said what she said, and it's hard to prove something when most of the queens that were involved are now gone. It's just up to whose word do you believe, and they don't believe Alexis, and she goes home, I think, way before her time. Let's talk about All Stars 6, which has, I want to say, one of the top 3 saddest eliminations. But before we get to that one, I quickly want to mention Jan. Jan, I think her elimination is so sad because of just the storyline of Jan on Drag Race in general. She tries so hard, right? She wants to succeed so much. She wants to prove to the judges, to Ru, to everyone around her, that she is a star. And at every moment, they tell her, no. Now, on All-Star 6, she'd gotten her chance to shine. She got her win in the Rusical. But she really, I think her struggle throughout this season was the judges saying, you're not giving us who you are, and Jan saying, "This is who I am. I don't know what else you want from me." And watching her kind of not understand the critiques that were given to her, it's just sad because she is so talented and she could be dominating the season. She just has to put the pieces of the puzzle together. And it's just sad to see her not be able to do that. And then she goes home on a girl group challenge where she thinks she's safe because Alexis Mateo pulls Pandora's lipstick. And Jan is like, "Oh my god, I'm here another day, top 6." And then Alexis says, No, wait, we got a tie, bitch." And then Trinity has to send her home. And that just kind of, I think, explains Jan's entire journey on Drag Race, which is she thinks she's doing well and she thinks she's in the clear, and then it all comes crashing down. Speaking of Trinity K. Bonet, oh my god, I'm still not over how depressing the moment that Trinity realizes she's going home is. And I don't think I will ever get over this. Trinity is one of the biggest All-Stars success stories. She had a couple weeks on season 6 where she did well, but for the most part, she really struggled on the season, and she kind of gets made to be the butt of the joke a lot of times. So for her to come back after, campaigning for years and to prove herself right that she could come back and she could slay, it was so fun to watch. It was so heartwarming to watch. And for it all to just crumble in the penultimate episode, and for her to know that there's nothing she can do about it, sucks. If they didn't have if you're not in the top, you're in the bottom twist, I think Trinity 1000% would have made that finale, because even 2 of the episodes where that is the case, she wouldn't have been in the bottom if it was just a bottom 2 or even a bottom 3. In the Drag Tots Challenge, she gets great critiques, probably the second best critiques of the night, but she's in the bottom and the girls count it as a bottom. And then the episode that she goes home in, the monologues, she gets pretty good critiques and probably would not have been in the bottom, but they count it as another bottom and they send her home. And for her to be doing so well pretty consistently throughout the season with 1 or 2 hiccups here or there and not make it, when you can see in her eyes just how much she wants it, it's depressing. It's sad. And I never want to watch that episode again as long as I live because it's just too sad. So let's move on to the final season we're going to talk about. Now, obviously, there's other seasons that have sad eliminations. I thought River and Shariza going home on UK3 was so sad. They were the 2 that I was rooting for the most. But I want to talk about UK versus the world, where every week the eliminations stung. I mean, Lemon going home first was terrible. Cheryl going home second was terrible. Jimbo going home third was terrible. And Pangina going home fourth was, guess what? Terrible. Jimbo was someone everyone wanted to see back. And for her to come back and finally get the challenge wins and the reception from the judges that she deserved on Canada 1, it was so nice to see. But then it all just gets ripped away when she gets shanked by Pangina in episode 3. And then Pangina gets shanked by Blu Hydragea in episode 4. And oh my god, it was so sad because Pangina, unlike any other queen we've talked about, had so much to prove. Because 1, she's from a franchise that not many people watched. It was a WoW Presents Plus thing over here in America. And I mean, it got canceled after 2 seasons because people just weren't tuning in. She was the host. So if she sucks, she could never go back to host that franchise because people would say, well, how are you about to judge these queens when you couldn't even do anything when you finally competed? So she had so much riding on this. She had a whole audience that she needed to impress. And she, I think, exceeded expectations 1,000%. And people already had high expectations for her. But she was doing so well. And then she makes the move to send home Jimbo. And I think that seals her fate the very next episode. And, I mean, have we ever heard a queen cry as much as Pangina did when she gets eliminated? And I think it's because she had so much to prove and she felt like she let everyone down. When in reality, I think she was the highlight of the whole season. And her doing so well and being so beloved has revigorized Drag Race Thailand, and I'm so excited to watch her on that. So those are, I think, the saddest eliminations of all time. Let me know if there were any that I left out. Obviously, there were a couple that I thought were sad, but not the saddest. These were the ones I really wanted to highlight. But which elimination in all of Drag Race made you the most upset? I want to hear which one still you were not over. For me, it's gotta be Alexis Mateo or Trinity K. Bonet on All Stars. They both should have made their finales, and I'm just very sad that they didn't. Here are the links to all of my social medias. Here are my beautiful patrons. Again, I want to thank our sponsor for the day, Atlas VPN. Go check out the link in the bio or the pinned comment. And thank you again for sponsoring today's video. It has been a lovely day solving the mystery of which queen I'm still ugly crying didn't make the finale. And the answer is Nicole Page Brooks. Robbed goddess. Bring her back for All Stars. We're begging. Alright guys, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.